Express Employment Professionals. Don't go it alone. Visit expresspros.com to find the location nearest you. That's expresspros.com.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Number one on your car radio preset and the new and improved iHeartRadio app. WDAS and WD273D Philadelphia is Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler.
Down to the final 5 seconds. Rats rain down. Lord Stanley staying in South Florida. Last year was greatness. This time it's historic. The Florida Panthers are back-to-back Stanley Cup champions.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. Daily Ticket on a hump day. Yeah, that means Wednesday. You don't follow up by saying hump day Wednesday. Everybody understands. Hump day's a Wednesday. Remember that commercial? Mike. Yes, Daily Ticket with you live. Sean Brace, Kyle Fisher from The Jump here on a Wednesday. I love it. 3 p.m. Of course, Kyle Fisher, 45 on socials. He was up late last night, Fox 29, holding it down, talking a little about the fight-ins and the lack that they did of exactly that yesterday down in Miami. Of course, we'll hit on that. The controversy about cussing out a manager and whether or not a manager should react. Luzardo, we got a lot to discuss. Round 3 in that game, and we roll on this week because the Mets are coming to town. Big-time series, I believe. But as you just heard, we open it up with the big news in sports, and we got a back-to-back Stanley Cup champion in the Florida Panthers. That just does not sound right as a guy that has been around since the existence of the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. Hockey in Florida, it's as dominant as it gets last 6 seasons, but man, it still just does not sound right. But I'll tell you what, you watch that team play, it looks pretty damn good on that ice. They were the better team against a really talented, explosive Edmonton Oilers squad, of course, with Connor McJesus out there floating on ice. But Reinhart with 4 goals. Bennett played his ass off. Conn Smythe award winner there at minus 160. There were so many things into that series that we discussed. Bob, I didn't even open up with probably the one big thing for us here in Philadelphia there with Sergei Bobrovsky, and who is a Hall of Fame goalkeeper that once played for the Flyers. Hi, Kyle. You're muted. Great start.
Man, just getting it off right, that's the way to go. So that is the way to start. I didn't just have a long night because I was on Fox 29.
My Lord.
You're all right. I'm messing with you. Go ahead.
I said, didn't just have a long night because I was on Fox 29. My son, he's fine, but he had to take a trip to the hospital yesterday. So he's down on senior week. Nothing alcohol related. Kid's 18. He got really bad sunburn. Went to the hospital.
I was going to guess
sun poisoning.
Oh, no.
It wasn't, thankfully, but they gave him some IV, made sure he was hydrated, gave him some medicine. Well, it was cloudy. He didn't put 2 and 2 together. I was like, come on, man. You see our skin. You see how pasty we are. You got to be prepared at all costs.
I remember when I was 18.
Yeah, well, when he was – so do I. I did the same thing. I thought he would have learned from me. But
we actually talked about this because I'm in my right hand for the people that are not watching. That's great on radio. I am holding up a can of Wear SPF. I actually had a little bit on earlier today. Justin Thomas's brand from the PGA Tour. Read his story at wearspf.com. For all the parents out there, one of the, if not the safest sunscreen out there on the market. And I'll tell you what, when you wear it, there's no scent and you feel it. There's few things that will separate you from a different sunscreen from a different sunscreen. I can tell the difference between this and the other sunscreens I've been wearing. No more. WearSPF.com. Trust me, I got one in my bag, one in my car, and one right here when it comes up. But I'm glad to hear that your son's doing all right, as I just turned your son's trip to hospital to a nice plug for
yeah, thanks for that. Appreciate
that.
Lord,
yeah, thank you.
We're both off to a great start on Wednesday, huh? Jeez.
All right, Kyle, we got a lot to discuss. Stanley Cup, are you a ice hockey fan, Flyers fan? I didn't even talk to you about this, but where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I fell off following them day to day after the last run kind of ended when Simmons and Giroux and that whole crew kind of dispersed. I haven't been as locked in. Paid attention from afar. Paid attention to the Stanley Cup though. Great Florida Panthers team. Beginning of a dynasty here. We'll see how long it lasts. Hockey, I feel like there's so much turnover year after year, but brought in new coaching after being on the cusp for a few years. They are deep across the board, like you mentioned. Strong goaltending, strong forward play. Don't know a lot about their defensemen, to be honest with you. As I mentioned, I'm a casual when it comes to the NHL, but you know that their forwards and centers are top of the league. And then on the other side, yeah, they were a strong team, but as you mentioned, hockey Jesus not really showing up in the big time. Only one goal in the Stanley Cup, so that's obviously going to be an off-season storyline the entire way. But shout out to the Panthers, big victory for them going back to back. It is weird, like you said, the last 6 seasons, 4 Stanley Cups, 2 back-to-backs in Florida, still since '93 for a team in Canada. They're looking more and more like the Cowboys Canadian hockey team.
Ouch. Ouch. Yeah, stop letting them in. Let's just put it that way, right? I kid when I say that. I was actually hoping that they were going to pull it off. But, as much as it was a beatdown, I was really entertained. It was a great Stanley Cup final. I'm not afraid to say the G word. I'm not afraid to say it. It was a great Stanley Cup final. I was very entertained. And for a guy that really didn't watch a ton of hockey this year, last year watched a lot, year before a lot, this year, I just didn't get down with it. Wasn't able to tune into too many Flyers games. They weren't really worthwhile. Mitchkoff a little bit in the beginning, but for the most part, the Flyers, fair weather fan, hand in the air, don't care. And, I'm a lot like you where like Simmons and Simmer and that whole crew kind of like once they disappeared and they separated and went their own ways, nothing really was worthwhile tuning in. I think they have made the playoffs one time since then. I think they ended up losing to the Rangers in that series, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, yeah.
Not a lot happening, but it is crazy because you look at how dominant they were, and we always do it, right? We get to these finals and you look at the 2 teams that are playing for the championship and you have to ask yourself, how far off are the Flyers, or how far off are the Sixers, or how far off are the Phillies from last year, and so on and so forth. And I don't even know. I can't get into X's and O's when it comes to the world of hockey, but just watching what I saw between those 2 teams, the pace, the skill, the want. And it's different because we're talking about a Stanley Cup final versus a regular season game in January or February. So let's be realistic with that. But hockey players, they give a full throttle effort most of the 99% of the time out there, whether it's preseason, regular season, or playoff hockey. We are on 2 different planets when it comes to the Flyers versus what the Panthers are, and of course Edmonton are. But I don't know, man. Maybe one day. And the biggest thing that hit me again, Kyle, you know this better than anybody because you work in a stadium. When a team is good and has a successful season, they go to the playoffs. Translation, extra paychecks for the people that are out there working in the stadium, extra dollars in their pocket, extra opportunities for these folks to make a name for themselves that work in sports. And I could only think to myself of like how great the people are that represent the Flyers, that represent the Phillies, Eagles, Sixers. Like, man, they are so rewarded by having these teams go on a deep playoff run. And we have just been gutted over these past few seasons, especially from the Flyers' perspective. Sixers, I get it, not so much. Second round, you get a couple extra paychecks, but it would be nice to have a trip to a Stanley Cup Finals or an NBA championship or an Eastern Conference final. It would be nice to have that in one of those 2 sports.
Yeah, not only as a fan, but like you said, the people who work in those stadiums day in and day out, the people who cover them with a passion. Like you and I, or like, some of the people who write for the Flyers team, like my guy, Chris Babos, who's on with me regularly. He's dying to get there. But my buddies who are vendors, my brother-in-law is a vendor. He's dying to see extra weeks and extra paychecks. And, hopefully Mitch Cobb and this next generation can get them there. But I think it's going to be a little bit before we really see the fruits of that labor.
Amen to that. Hopefully sooner than later. All right. Anything else in the world of hockey? Well, you know what? Let's have a look. What do you say here, Kyle Fisher? Let's have a look and see those odds and see how far off the Flyers are for next year as far as the Stanley Cup championship here. Panthers are 6-1 favorites right now to run it back. Wow, that would be absolutely amazing.
3 in a row.
Yeah, Edmonton 7-1, Carolina 9-1, Dallas Stars plus 950. Then we keep going, and we keep going down, and we're down a little bit more. And even more here on DraftKings Sportsbook, all the way to 100-1 for the Philadelphia Flyers to win a championship next season. I'll tell you what, I'll take a little piece of that.
Hey,
I'm in.
Sprinkle a little something on there, Doesn't hurt.
The pizza money bet. That's what they
Yeah.
Pizza money.
One thing before we move on from
Go
Stanley
buy
Cup.
yourself an extra pie, all right? Don't waste your money on that.
That's what I'm doing. I don't know what you're doing, but did you see what Evander Kane did at the end of the last game?
He's not exactly the nicest guy out there. He's got a reputation, and uncalled for emotions gets the best of him. Of course, he slashed the hell out of T'Chaka, I want to say.
Yeah,
that wasn't
that first one. That little jab was, whatever. You want to skip the handshake line because you're emotional, fine. Like, people rip Brady over it, but he does that all the time. It was the follow-up, right? He gets the tiny slashing, gets called for the penalty, and then doubles down with a slash across the chest. It's classless move, man. It's just not called for, especially in that situation. You want to be a gritty player. What you mentioned about like the want, to me, that shows like the focus versus the emotion, right? Yeah, it was real late, and maybe the game's out of hand at that point. You got to be able to keep your emotions in check, and clearly Florida was able to do that throughout the series.
Yeah, you're right about that. Well, nice little segue. Keeping your emotions in check. Again, we don't get bogged down with this stuff like other radio stations out there where they drive calls on this topic. And if it's something that's entertaining to you, that's cool. I'm not here to poo-poo something that gets you by your day. I just think there's a lot of fraudulent hosts out there that love to just stir up some controversy for the sake of getting through their day. That's not what we do here. We have fun and we keep it moving. But of course, the story here in Philadelphia sports is the fact that Nick Castellanos had to miss last night's game against the Miami Marlins due to the fact that he was benched because he had a situation that happened after the first game against the Marlins, a game that the Phillies won, that he was pulled. I believe that's his hometown. He's from around that area, if I'm not mistaken, right? Miami. So there was a little something there that he didn't want to come out of that game. He was pulled, and he let Topper have it. And to the point that Topper said, you know what, man, he crossed the line, and therefore I have to be the manager here, and we're not going to have that. And I understand it. I respect it. It's what he has to do. I believe you could go about it a different way, and maybe a younger manager might have did it differently. But at the end of the day, man, you play 162. You got to keep people in check. And if he crossed the line, I'll trust Thompson, who's been around this league for a long damn time. I'll take his opinion on it. It sucks. It's a regular season game that they lost against the Marlins back on June 18th. Oh, well, they're winning a bunch these days. You want to keep that going. But these are the things that happen in sports, professional sports, in locker rooms and clubhouses all across this country that we don't deal with in the regular workforce, right? I don't have it happening here because I have HR. There's no HR with the Phillies. I mean, if there might be, but
yeah.
Rob Thompson is HR, bro, and he must handle it the way that a coach or a manager must in their mind, and I'll ride with him on that one. I have no issues whatsoever. Sucked that they lost that game, but even if Castellanos plays, I don't think that they're going to win that game. It was an ugly game, 8-3 final score, I believe. But your thoughts on Castellanos being benched yesterday?
Yeah, I think the thing that stinks the most about it is it was an exciting storyline had become that he had just passed Jimmy Rollins as far as consecutive games played, 236 straight games in his hometown, gets taken out for defensive reasons and made an inappropriate comment. Whether that means what was said was inappropriate, whether it was the timing was inappropriate, no one has been forthright on that as of yet, but they're not going to be, right? Thompson does a really good job of keeping everything in-house to the point where fans and some media members, some of the folks you talked about earlier, they have harped on him not showing emotion and not calling guys out for things. Well, he knows the kind of work that they put on to stay consistent and improve on the field. So he's not going to call them out or bench them for a bad performance, especially a veteran guy like Nick Castellanos. Think back to last season, right? He plays all 162 games. The guy was hitting 117 late in April. Wasn't benched for that. June, more than 2 months into the season, the guy was batting between 180 and 190. Wasn't benched for that. He showed the work, put the work in, showed the consistency. It's a veteran. He's showing an example every single day to the young guys, and he doesn't get benched for that. When he does get benched is when he does something egregious that's not a good example to those guys. Thompson is very big on, I'm an open book, open door, come to me if you have a problem. From everything that I've heard, right, I have a source who has sources. It's not a direct guy in the clubhouse, but a guy I've talked to who's pretty tied in there. He told me that it's way more about the timing and the place of the comment than it is the comment itself. Topper likely doesn't bench him if he comes to him after the game and has words with him in his office. But if he says it in the dugout or in front of some of the young guys, Topper has to put a stop to that. I ride with the manager on that. And it seems Nick did too.
Yeah, I think that's well said, and obviously they're a person with the connection, so they heard that might be the truth, and I would assume that would be how it played out. Again, there were some other things that were discussed on the timeline, some people put in some situations over the past 2 seasons with Castellanos here that the situation happened. What was it? I forget. There was another issue that came up, and it was him batting in the order at the beginning of the season where he was hitting 7th.
Yeah.
And apparently he was upset about that. And of course he bumped them up. But I you're so right, Kyle. Like, Cast, you're a fan favorite. We love you. But you could do a little bit more at the dish, specifically your pop. You've been lacking in that department where we need a little bit more lumber from right field as far as home runs are concerned. I thought he would be a little bit more of a power hitter. Not the case. Your manager has had your back. He plays you every inning of every day. And I think Castellanos deserves a lot of credit, especially this day and age in all sports with all these players where they're always itching for a day off or an opportunity to take said game off. And Casty doesn't operate like that. I like Nick Castellanos. I do. I think he has a role regardless. Well, to a point, it comes down to stats and you got to deliver at the dish. His field, his glove isn't all that good, right? He's been a little bit better. He's making the catches that are right at him. He's made a few catches that are like, whoa, I didn't expect him to get to that ball. But I think you look at some of the numbers out there, stats wise, advanced analytics, all that. He is not a good right fielder. And again, he is constantly in the lineup and he's good. He's good. He's been consistent, but the pop isn't there. So this manager has been riding with you. And I think he crossed the line, as Topper said. He had to handle it his way. Probably happened in front of a lot of people, maybe a young player or two. Can't have that. 162. We got to police the clubhouse, police the locker room. And that's what Rob Thompson did.
Yeah, and look, if it was crazy egregious, they would have caught that on cameras, right? Somebody would have shown that. Maybe not the broadcast on NBC Sports, but like somebody would have caught somewhere them getting in a dispute in the dugout had it been some big public display or some cursing each other out type of situation or real fiery situation. It was probably a one-off comment said at the wrong time in front of the wrong people. Thompson does what he has to do. And again, people have asked him to correct things that didn't need correcting. Well, he's finally correcting something. And if you have a problem with that, then you're just looking for a reason to be upset.
Phillies signed him to a 5-year, $100 million contract in 2022. He's hitting currently .278, 7 home runs, 36 RBIs on the season. Again, I like Casty. It's a tough question or tough to come up with this answer. But has he lived up to that contract? Because I think he has, right? The contract isn't all that expensive. I thought he'd be a little bit better as far as power numbers are concerned. If you ask me, has he lived up to the contract? I don't know. What do you say to that, Kyle?
I mean, it depends on if you're just looking at the offensive production, I don't know if you can necessarily say that. I'm not saying that he's been bad, but when they signed him as a free agent, he was coming off of a season where he had a .576 slugging percentage, and hasn't touched 5 since. It was .389 in 2022, .476 in 2023, .431 last year, .425 so far this year. So the last 3 years, it's gone down each season. Yeah. Now, that's going to naturally happen with a guy who's getting past those prime years, your early 30s. He's in his age 33 season, but that big home run number, 34 homers in his last season in Cincinnati, that was actually the outlier. He was more of a big doubles guy, gap to gap. And even that has taken a step back. Like, again, that 2023 season was huge. 37 doubles, 29 homers from Casty, but maybe didn't live up to what people expected because he had that crazy year in Cincy that last season. Still, I think the leadership that he's brought, the example that he set for some of the young guys, having another veteran bat in your lineup can never hurt. And I think they kind of targeted two guys at once and ended up picking both. Cassie was put in a situation that he probably wasn't expecting to be in. He probably expected to be mostly a DH wherever he signed that season, and they happened to bring in Kyle Schwarber at the same time. Well, somebody's got to play the field, and Cassie has put the work in to justify being out there every day in right field.
All right, again, we don't go too crazy. I'm not seeing a lineup right now, but he'll be back in there today, right?
I would think so, yeah. I mean, Topper made it seem like it was just going to be a one-off. He didn't say specifically, yes, he'll be back in, but he also didn't say, we're going to have to see how it goes either. He said, yeah, just gets the day off. We feel like we needed to handle that internally. We didn't. Gets the day off.
Yeah, Cassie was quoted by saying, again, like, I like Castellanos. I do. I like him. It's not
pretty
even
honest.
Yeah, he's an honest, straight shooter. He is a personality, but he doesn't have personality. Is that?
Yeah, he's not like an over-the-top personality, but it's a very unique, like stoic,
Yes. I like
this is how I deliver everything, and if you don't like it, oh well.
The kid, Liam, right?
Yeah, that's every time. I mean, seeing those two together is so exciting, right? Like,
pretty cool.
That's what being a dad is all about. What that guy does with his son. So,
Casty said, "I wasn't happy about it. Spoke my mind." Close quote. That's it. Oh no, yeah. He said that I crossed the line, so my punishment is I'm not playing.
Yeah, he's the manager. It's his decision.
That's it.
Okay, nice and easy.
That's it, man. We keep it moving here. All right, Kyle Fisher. Okay, over to the Phillies once again. Round 3 tonight, 6:40 p.m. Suarez on the mound. Ranger Day minus 176 here. 8.5 is our total in that one. Anything else to add from last night's game? Again, a loss. Wasn't a good game. Tough game.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not
nothing major. To me, the question is, what do we see from Luzardo, right? He's passed his innings from last season. We know that how good he was before, 4 starts ago now? Those 2 starts, his 4 and 3 starts ago where he allowed the 20 earned runs, had that great bounce back against the Cubs. Doesn't really have his control down there in Miami against his former club. Is it jitters, pitching where he grew up, pitching with family there, pitching against his former team? Or is it something more that they need to be concerned about? So I think it just keeps maybe it's not a red flag, but an orange flag above his head. Like, hey, this is something we need to monitor moving forward. Is he going to be the guy who had 10 Ks against the Cubs in 6 innings, or is he going to be the guy who struggles to get through 6 or through 5 against the Marlins and walks 4 while K'ing 4? So it's something worth watching. I wouldn't say it's an immediate concern. We saw what he did. If he can show anything close to that before those last 4 starts, you're still in good shape. But with how they've been tested in the rotation as far as injuries and some of these other red flags from Luzardo a couple starts ago, and Mick Abel being young, that's something worth digging into or watching closely.
Talk a little bit about Mick Abel coming up here. Not saying Rookie of the Year award, but there was a recent poll about rookies right now at the major league level, couple late call-ups, recent call-ups, excuse me. And, of course, Abel now with 4 starts, whatever it is so far. But he made the list, and he's getting attention. Right now he's not listed as far as Rookie of the Year candidates are concerned for DraftKings Sportsbook. But pretty interesting stuff from Mick Abel. We will talk about Rookie of the Years coming up in just a second here, but staying with the Phillies again, we'll talk more about tonight's game just a second as well. Trey Turner though, 2 for 4 last night, lead off, 2 parts. One, I don't know why I continue to have to say this, but I had no issues with a Topper making the move to Stott. I don't want Schwarber there. I just don't. Last year I didn't care. I didn't get caught up in the whole argument. Is he a leadoff? Like, he proved his worth. I trust Thompson. Go with Schwarber. If he's at the leadoff position, that's fine. But I'm old school. I'm a back of the baseball card guy. The analytics, I trust them. I'm with you. There are some people that get a little too caught up in it, but there are a lot that you can look at and learn a lot from, other than average and RBI and so on and so forth, of the old school way of looking and judging how a hitter's doing. But Schwarber, to me, was just, I wanted him out there at the 3-hole or the 4, and never really liked him at the leadoff, but dude just went out there and hit bombs. We know that. This year, you tried Stott, didn't work out. Love to see Stott be successful in that spot. Work pitches, work counts, get on base. It didn't work. And Stott was not a good leadoff hitter. Truthfully, Stott has been struggling, and he had the one season. That's the outlier, which is very unfortunate because I love Stott. Anyways, he's got a great walk-up song, right? But Trey Turner, though, and, the other thing I got to fess up about is I was talking to Luke Arcani a couple weeks ago, and I was like, dude, Francisco, that's fun to say. He's coming to I get it, Mets uniform, nobody likes him, whatever, but that dude delivers, and he is a damn good hitter, damn good player in a city of New York where it's not easy with all the attention. He's delivered and then some. Oh, by the way, they won last year. They got the edge on the Phillies, what took place in the postseason. Trey Turner's having a better season.
He is 100%.
Trey Turner's having a better season right now. I know Lindor is leading the way as far as all-star voting is concerned right now. No surprise because of New York. But you look at the numbers. And, oh, by the way, this was on the timeline a little earlier as well. I want to give a credit to Phil Central. Always worry about giving credit to accounts that don't follow, because who knows what else they're doing.
Yeah, right.
Some guy had a good tweet about it was this one podcast where it was Aaron Andrews and Carissa Thompson, right? And he goes, isn't it funny, like these two girls, Aaron Andrews and Carissa Thompson, start up their own podcast to yell about other girls? And I just chuckled at that, and I liked the tweet. I was like, yeah, and then I clicked on the guy's thing, and the first tweet was like, all right, see you, dude. Let me take that.
Never mind.
Yeah, my bad. I don't know him. Anyways, Phil Central, the shortstops who were available in 2022-23 offseason, Dombrowski picked the right one, and it's not even close. Xander Bogaerts, Carlos Correa, Dansby Swanson, Trey Turner. And I'm not surprised about any of that. That's one, Phil Central, because I don't think it was all that difficult. If you had your pick between Trey Turner and those other three candidates, that's fine. Correa, I would say, probably had a little bit better numbers than Bogaerts, if I'm not mistaken. Swanson, no way. And then, by the way, I do believe that's probably the more expensive contract out of the four. So I know what he's trying to say, and he deserves credit. But at the end, it wasn't all that difficult between those other three.
Yeah, I think Correa was the only one where people thought he might project to be better. He was a little bit younger, but as soon as you see the red flags in his medicals, obviously that's something that you want to avoid. But I think that Turner was the guy who everybody thought this is going to be a long-term superstar. And then, of course, you see what he does in the World Baseball Classic, and everybody gets really excited. I think the only reason that's ever been a question is because he had those early struggles. But outside of those early struggles, he's been the guy that they thought he was going to be. Maybe not a home run hitter, but you don't need him to be that, right? We talk about Thompson challenging guys. Well, he challenged Turner in the offseason to change his game around and be the table setter, and that's exactly what he's done this season. Guy leads the National League in hits, leads all shortstops in hits, obviously, leads all shortstops in batting average and in on-base percentage. He's second in OPS. He's second in doubles. He's tied for first in triples. He's second in stolen bases among shortstops. He's second among shortstops in runs. The guy has been nothing but what you could ask for out of his position. And you put him in a position to succeed, and he's risen to the occasion this season for sure. So easy decision looking back on it, obviously. If you take out those first few months, easy decision, what felt like an easy decision at the time. And you're seeing the results play out exactly how you wanted to this season, especially.
Yeah, Trey's been ripping the cover off the ball as of late. Yeah. And a lot of fun to watch, man, when he's at the top of the lineup leading off and getting on base, hitting home runs to start the game, which, he doesn't do all that often, but that happened 2 nights ago. Pretty fun stuff down there.
Seems to only do it on the road, which is funny. I don't know. I think he has 9 home runs. All of them are on the road this season.
Wow.
But I don't think anything of it, although I did make fun of, I can only imagine what the callers on sports radio are going to be like tomorrow. Like, oh, God, we pay him $300 million. God can't even hit one in front of the fans. This is ridiculous. I'll hang up and listen, or whatever they say now.
That's probably something that was said. You are so spot on about that. Unbelievable. All right, and for the people, Kyle Fisher, let me ask you about this one. And it's funny because I saw my own co-host John Marks, who was there for a long time, and he deserves a lot of credit. I did see his tweet where he's like, "I went through the list, and it's it's not rocket science. It's June, not a lot to talk about, and they roll out that list, and that's fine. I think." Having the list is cool, right? Like you are that radio station, you have a ton of people that work there, you get everybody's votes, and if you could trust everybody to not be an idiot, then you get hey, well, this player had this many votes, and this was the number one. Like I thought that was a pretty cool idea, and they should do more stuff like that, right? But when you have like an idiot that just doesn't have Jalen Hurts on the list, like, come on, dude, what are we doing here? But where does Jalen fall in your top 5 right now? He's in your top 5 current Philadelphia sports figures, right?
Yeah, he is. I mean,
is he number 1 on your list?
How can he not be? He's won the Super Bowl. He's been to 2. He's the most important player on the most important team in the city.
Yep.
I mean, it's the most important player at the most important position in the most popular sport, both nationally and locally. How is he not number 1? I don't like it's if you want to talk about numbers and results, he still has to be top 3 worst, top 1 best, right? Like I don't understand what some of these guys are doing with their lists. I mean, I do, right? We know what the game is, whether you respect it or not. You know what the game is.
Yeah. I don't respect it.
Yeah. It's
and literally you can pull an animal out of the Philadelphia Zoo, put them in that studio. I don't even think they have to turn the microphone on. Like, let's just say, name me an animal, your favorite animal growing up.
Jaguar.
All right, you got a jaguar from the Philadelphia Zoo. You put them in WIP studio. You don't even have to turn the microphone on, and that jaguar will get ratings.
Yeah.
That show will get ratings. Now, if you turn the microphone on and the jaguar and does that for 45 minutes, I'll tell you, we'll do pretty well as well.
Yeah, he'd at least get the first 15 of the hour would be pretty high rated, I'll tell you.
Nice work by you on that one. All right. Sorry, all over the place. I got to love it. Anyways, Jalen Hurts.
So that's what y'all wanted to see, huh?
Ain't that right, man? Number 1 on my list, number 1 on Kyle's list. And I said this to anybody that didn't have him number 1. I said, whoever you put up there, whether it's Trey Turner, whether it's Bryce Harper, whether it's Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Zach Wheeler, Mitch Koff, Andre Blake from the Philadelphia Union. You want to throw a wings play? I don't care. Name the player that you have number 1 on the list that's not Jalen Hurts, above Jalen Hurts. And I guarantee if you ask that player, they would say, no, Jalen belongs number 1. Right. There you go.
There you go.
All right. To tonight's game we go. Once again, Ranger Day. What are you expecting? Your thoughts on tonight's game? Win a series, right? -176. As easy as that?
Well, they got 2 games left, and it's tied, so they won't win the series with a win tonight. But
Friday is the Mets game. My fault. You're right.
That's okay. But I think that they will win tonight's game, and it's because Rangers pitching like the first half of last year. Rangers back to Mr. Ranger. I mean, you take out what he came out of that off the injured list. That first start against Arizona, he went 3 2/3, allowed 7 earned runs. Since then, he's pitched to a 1.16 ERA, Sean, and it's not even like he's getting crazy lucky. A lot of times, you'll see that with like a FIP, a fielding independent pitching, way higher, where a guy's just getting lucky left and right. His FIP's still under 3. He's pitching incredibly. It doesn't matter who he's facing. Good lineup, bad lineup, doesn't matter. The guy has everything working right now, and I don't expect that to change against a really bad Miami Marlins team. I don't care how well the Marlins perform against the Phillies over these last few seasons. It doesn't matter to me. Ranger is the guy outside of Zach Wheeler right now, and he's going to continue that trend tonight.
Yeah, man, he really has been just awesome to see and making life a heck of a lot easier without Aaron Nola in the pitching rotation. Again, as Kyle just put very well there, last time out, 7 innings against the Blue Jays, 6 strikeouts. Of course, no runs given up in that game. Phillies won 8-0. Out in Pittsburgh when they got swept, he held them to 2 runs, but ended up getting the loss. Who cares about that as far as pitching is concerned? Went 7 innings there. Previous 2 before that, 6-6. Before that, 6-7-7. So this dude has been on point.
He's gone into the 7th in 6 of his last 7 starts.
Yeah.
It's a bullpen saver. It's a domination. It's a discouragement to the offense. You talk about the bullpen struggles. Well, what saves the bullpen? Having a guy go out there and throw 7 every time. You know that you can empty the tank on Tuesday night when you have Ranger going Wednesday. Just like you know you can empty the tank the night before you have Wheeler on the mound. You know those guys are going to go 7 every single time out, so you know you can be a little riskier with your pen the day before.
That is so good. What isn't good is Bryce Harper. A lot of people are feeling a little antsy on the timeline. What's your take on that? Because for me, I'm a guy that doesn't, read the tea leaves and, my intuition, my spidey sense. No, I trust what is being said. There were people out there. Luke Arcaney, I go to. Luke said, no, I wouldn't be surprised if he's out till All-Star break. Okay. That sucks. I believe it's the second week of July. I want to say trade deadline's 31st. I want to say the All-Star break is what? The second week of July?
Like the 14th, I think, this year.
Okay.
I'm not looking at the calendar, but that weekend.
And I know we talked about it last Wednesday because Harper was officially out, I want to say, when you hopped on the show or whatever it was, and he came back for the Blue Jays, hit that home run. We talked about maybe did they rush him back? But here we are, and it stinks. But I'm not there's a lot of people out there trying to is he going to be out for season? Are you even thinking about that at all right now?
Season, no.
Okay.
If you want to go through the All-Star break, sure. I think that is not a far-fetched possibility. Obviously, you'd like him back, but I also want him to be healthy. And I think that's what the club wants too. I think that they know that June, while it's no longer early, it's not late either, right? You have some leeway right now where you can let him get as healthy as possible. And then hopefully some of these other guys pick up the slack, right? It's with the trade deadline looming, maybe that forces your hand a little bit depending on how quickly he can get back. But with it being a recurring injury, it seems from last season, you really want to be careful with this guy. Topper has said a couple times, especially when it comes to Harper, but he said it with other guys, is if you can play through the pain and not change anything, fine. But the moment you change your mechanics, now you're setting yourself up for long-term repercussions, whether it be in performance or re-injury or aggravating something else. And you want to avoid that. So I think that keeping him out of the lineup for as long as possible, and also kind of a domino, you get to see what you have in Matt Kemp finally. But allowing him to fully get healthy, fully get back before that August and September run into October, that's what this team needs to do. And they are strong enough and high-powered enough and a high payroll enough where they should be able to survive without him. And I don't get too bogged down into this. I don't think there's any more to look at into, or anything deeper to look at into this, let me say. But they are a winning team since signing him when he hasn't been in the lineup. Not saying that they would win without him. They are better with him than without him. There's no question. But that just proves that they are a good enough team and a good enough organization to survive those times where he's needed a break. And they should be with this high of a payroll. They should be with this high of expectations, with this many veterans, a team that can survive even a guy of Bryce Harper's caliber being out for a little while. And that's what the team is going to allow them to do.
Well said. Kyle Fisher, 45 on all things socials is where you can find him. And of course, does a great job for the fine folks over at Philly Sports Network. Be sure to give them a follow as well. Philadelphia SN. Philadelphia SN. All right. Could we switch gears real quick to the NFL? I ain't got you for the first hour. This time flies. So it's already look at the clock. We're like, geez, man, we spent what did we even talk about for 38 minutes?
Well, when we're making jokes about my mic being muted and plugging sunscreen, we lose a little bit of time up front. But
what beach was your son at?
Wildwood.
All right, yeah, man. You gotta wear the sunscreen, man. It doesn't matter.
I tried to tell him,
bro. That's all right. Well, now
I'm
we learned.
He's okay. That's all that matters.
Did you have to make? So where was the hospital trip? Down there or up here?
So he went, and I just stayed up just in case,
gotcha.
It was bad news, and I had to go down there and help him. So I was just at the ready, talking to him, texting him. Luckily, he had a really amazing friend who stayed with him all 4 hours he was at the ER. So while everybody else went back and either hung out or went to bed, those two were at the hospital just hanging out.
You know he was tailgating with White Claws in the parking lot. You know that's what he was doing, right? Like, yeah. I'm waiting for Young Fish is going to be done soon. I'm just going to have a couple of Nothing wrong with that. I can't.
Pace is a good driver, so maybe I don't know.
We
I don't
aren't
want to
of
put that
age.
on anybody, but
We aren't of age, so that's right. I don't want to say that. Okay, let's keep it moving here. Once again, Kyle Fisher with me. Over to the NFL. Couple quick ones here. Caught my attention. Josh Allen was asked about banning the tush push. And he said, the headline caught my attention. Josh Allen has message for those who wanted the tush push banned. Good article over at Yardbarker. And Buffalo Bills had success running a variation of the tush push in recent years, so you could probably guess how Josh Allen felt about certain teams trying to ban the play this offseason. Though Jalen Hurts and Philadelphia Eagles are team most associated, Bills have taken advantage of the play with their own big body quarterback. We know how successful the Eagles are. Buffalo Bills, I believe, are number 2 with that play because of Josh Allen. Even though when they had to run it, when it mattered most, he didn't get it. Yeah. With that being said, I was like, wait a minute. He's got an issue with teams banning the tush push. Is my memory right? The Buffalo Bills voted to ban the freaking play. What is he talking about?
Yeah, his own coach.
His own coach.
Yeah.
What is that about? And I don't care, like, the reasoning. Is there anything that connects that's like, okay, now I see it, like I understand it? If your quarterback runs that play to have success to the point that it's being discussed like the Philadelphia Eagles, maybe not on that level, why in God's green earth are you trying to ban it? It makes zero sense.
I remember people specifically asking Sean McDermott, and he could not answer it. Now, granted, it was a small clip. I don't know what was said afterwards. But I remember it was in the offseason when they had first talked about the vote before it got delayed that first time. His big argument was player safety. So a reporter asked him, well, there's no data backing up that there's player safety. And also your team runs it a ton. So whether it gets banned or not, are you willing to stop running the play in the name of player safety to keep your players safe? And he couldn't answer the question.
Of course.
And clearly there's a disconnect, not saying it's some egregious disconnect and like there's going to be issues in Buffalo, but if your own quarterback is like, why are we banning this thing? And you're out here pushing to ban it. Clearly there's some misunderstanding between the two. I don't know if he felt like he had to be a good guy. We know his history publicly. So I don't know what the urge is to feel like he had to ban it, but it is kind of funny that Josh Allen basically publicly disagreed with his coach without saying that specifically.
I believe Sean McDermott heard it, right? Didn't he come to a Philadelphia sporting event and people were heckling him? I know Tim McDermott, who runs the Philadelphia Union, is his brother. Tim's a great dude. Never met Sean, but Sean has Philadelphia Eagles history. Everything that you ever heard about Sean McDermott was awesome. I love the Bills. Actually pulled for the Bills. I have an AFC question we're going to get into in a second. But that one struck me a little bit, man. What's going on? That makes zero sense. Somebody tweeted me earlier, and they said that it had to do with ownership. Real quick. Again, like I said, nothing makes it connect to the point that I'm like, oh, now I get it. And I don't even know. Can you trust Smarty Jones? Can you trust a horse? He said reportedly one of the reasons they pushed the vote was because owners were far more supportive of banning it than players and coaches.
I mean, that was a big thing. That's what everybody said about Goodell. Like Goodell kind of wanted it banned. So that's why they delayed that vote initially, because he didn't have as many people as he thought on his side. That's what a lot of talking heads have said. I haven't heard that. I don't have enough inside sources in the NFL to confirm that. But I mean, it's his comment lines up exactly with what I've said, and what a lot of players seem to feel is that if you want to stop the tush push, then go on the field and stop it.
Yeah.
If you don't want people to do this, then figure out a way to stop them from doing it. I actually didn't care if the play got banned. But as an Eagles fan, I didn't care if the play got banned because at one point, what was it? They used to call it the Bush push, right? Reggie Bush, they used to do it with him in college and when he first came to the league, and then they changed the rule to not allow pushing or pulling, and then they changed it back. So if you wanted to go and just say at one point, hey, this was illegal. Yeah, we don't have the data to back it up, but we feel like it makes the game more interesting. And we are concerned about, while we don't have data yet, that it could be an injury risk. we just feel like it's better for the game if we go back to how the rule used to be.
Yeah.
That, to me, I go, okay, great. All right, wash my hands of it. But it's this nonsense that people are coming up with that makes me feel like, okay, I don't know what the reasoning is, whether it's Goodell or people calling it rugby or whatever else you want to say. It never made sense to me why they would want to ban the play in the first.
And right hand in the air, I apologize. I brought it up. I know nobody wants to talk about this anymore, but that one hit me. I'm like, wait a minute, Josh Allen, like he was quoted. He said, quote, "I'm a big believer. If you can't stop it, keep running it, right?" Like, dude, your team tried to ban this. What am I missing? Anyways, let's not waste any more time.
I agree.
It's so stupid. All right. One other item caught my attention. This is over NFL.com. Talking about teams that most improved this offseason. Now, it's tough to sit here and say it, and, to each their own. There are people that live and die by the draft. We got a couple of them here, McClay, Mark Henry Jr. I know you cover the NFL extensively. You're dialed in on depth charts, all that. I get it. But we're a long way to go until we see who's who and what's what. With that being said, it's fun. It's June conversation here. It's fun. So NFL.com cooks this up. They listed 6 teams. I'm only going to talk about one. And it was the Washington Commanders, where they're trying to pitch me the idea that they got better this offseason. And again, putting the draft to the side, that's cool. They bring up the fact that they brought in Laramie Tunsil and Deebo Samuel. And that is why, and they list the draft class too here, but it's in side print. But veteran additions is their main push. Commanders entered the offseason clear goal, capitalize on newfound success, and do so fearlessly. Trades for Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil gave them 2 proven veterans to bolster an offense headlined by 2024, of course, Rookie of the Year, Jaden Daniels. Now, there are ways things could go awry. Samuel struggled to stay healthy enough to consistently produce in San Francisco in recent years, and Tunsil allowed 52 pressures in 2024, the most for him in a season since 2018, according to Next Gen Stats. So they're like making the case, but I don't know. Even if you, all right, I guess you add a piece to your offensive line, of course. Like we saw that last year with Becton, right? Like I could use him as an example. Yeah, he was great. The expectations were low. You thought he would perform, but he was even better than what anybody could guess.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeff Stoutland, we trust. So I get it. Deebo Samuel, cool. Like Deebo was a badass. If you get Deebo Samuel to play his position and his style, all right. But like to say that they are absolutely going to be more improved because of those 2 signings, I don't know. I wasn't really vibing with that. Where do you stand on that?
Well, to me, you have to combine the draft. We talked about a little bit ago, I think not recently, but a few weeks, maybe a month or 2 back about who improved in the offseason after the draft. And I said Washington at the time, and I still stick by that. You have Daniels, who's another year under his belt, good coaching staff, good system. Even if Deebo's not the perfect guy or the perfect receiver that people thought he would be, he's a weapon. And if they can create open space for him, he can do a lot of damage. And what do you want to do with a young quarterback? You want to protect him. You want to give him extra time, and especially a guy with his athleticism. If you give him extra time, not only does that allow him to read the field better, which he was great at last season, but it allows him to use his legs, get out, and if he can't find something downfield, explode for a few himself. And they didn't just add Laramie Tunsil. They also added a first round pick as a lineman. They added a lot of defensive depth in maybe 1-year signings, a lot of them, but still they added a lot of depth on the defensive end, which was their problem last season, and they added some linemen. How can you not be excited about one of the more exciting young quarterbacks in the league getting some extra help on the offensive end and some extra protection? To me, I don't think that's crazy far off to say that they're one of the more improved teams.
Okay. Great conversation. Good take by you on that one. Kyle Fisher 45 on socials. If you disagree, I like it. I think you do have to include the draft, and that does change it up just a little bit. As I said, they did include it. They have the side part 2025 draft class. So it's kind of in, but it's not a part of the paragraph, the explanation. So you're probably right on that one. You have to include it all. It is the offseason. It's a pretty damn big piece of it as well. Other teams, just to get your take on it, if you feel passionately about any of these teams, the Jets. Of course, Aaron Glenn, I think, automatically improves it. I really do. Like, I'm an Aaron Glenn guy. We'll see what he does. But they go on a couple players, and it's specifically quarterback at Justin Fields. Any thoughts on that? Really improving for the New York Jets this offseason?
I don't know what kind of needle Justin Fields moves at this point. He didn't show me much in Pittsburgh. He showed a little bit in Chicago, but not enough for Chicago to keep him, right? They moved on. They could have used that early first round pick to either trade to get more assets to build around him, or they could have taken a high leverage weapon, high leverage protection for him. And they said, we'll pass. That, to me, that's a sign that all you need to know. The Steelers had him in there for one season under a veteran guy with a similar skill set, and they once again said, we'll pass. When have the Jets picking up a quarterback off the scrap heap paid off for them? Like, I know that it's a different system, but that seems to be the trend with this organization, regardless of who the head coach is, regardless of who the offensive coordinator is. To me, that doesn't do anything for me. So until the Jets improve in the win column, I don't care what kind of additions or subtractions they make. I have no faith in that team until they show me otherwise.
All right, I'll tweet out the article and other teams that were mentioned. New England Patriots, of course, with Milton Williams signing from the Philadelphia Eagles, with Stephon Diggs, if he can stay off the boat with the pink stuff. Drake May, of course, another year there, but not including him in this discussion. So it's interesting there. They brought up the Minnesota Vikings and the Las Vegas Raiders, who did bring in a bunch of new pieces, including Geno Smith, new coach, and, of course, Genti at the running back position. So football season inching closer, and we'll end on this one, Kyle Fisher, because I'm wondering where we're at, right? I saw on my way in, Ravens just signed Alexander, former Green Bay Packer, I believe, right? All right.
Yes, sir.
And Lamar was quoted. It was the first time he spoke since they were eliminated at Buffalo, in a game that you were on the sideline for, which he spoke after the game. They made it seem like he didn't speak. And I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, he did. Anyways, it's the first time we're hearing from him. Of course, he's out for vengeance, I believe is the word he used. I'm just curious, on June 18th, Kyle Fisher, like, I need new. I said this many, many years ago, and I was right on. I was spot on with it, where I'm like, I need new blood at the quarterback position. This league is starving for new blood. This was before Mahomes, right around Mahomes, that came on and busted on the scene. I didn't have Mahomes doing what he has done, right? I was saying we need some new blood. We need some new blood at the most important position at quarterback. I can't take Joe Flacco, who's still in the league. Probably going to be started. Like, I can't. Like, we need new blood. And now I'm not at the point where it's like as drastic, but I'm begging. I'm begging for something new out of the AFC. Of course, it starts with knocking off the Chiefs, but we need something other than the Bills and the Ravens to grasp onto and hope, right? I thought the Houston Texans would have been that team last year. Maybe CJ Stroud, a little sophomore slump, and he'll bounce back. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I was a little too high on the Texans. That's probably more right than anything. But I need something new out of the AFC. Me personally, I don't care what everybody else says. Is there anything new in the AFC for you? Is it Drake May and the Patriots to watch out for? Is it a team that nobody's talking about? Or are we looking at a season where it's going to be, fingers crossed, the Ravens and the Bills will get another opportunity in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs and probably going to come up short?
Yeah, I mean, are the Chargers new if they take another step and make noise in the playoffs? I think that I like what Harbaugh's doing there, and how can you not like Justin Herbert? The guy has all the raw talent you need, and with a legit coach in Harbaugh, I could see them taking another step.
No, hang on. Time out. I need a 20. I need you to look me in the eye and say, dude, it's the Chargers. They're going to step up. That's what I need, man. Give me something here. Is it the Chargers? Is it Harbaugh? Coach Harbaugh and his khakis going to lead them to the promised land. I can buy in. I like Justin Herbert. Hopefully Sean Bedard's not listening. I do. Sell it to me, Kyle Fisher, please.
Let's go, Justin Herbert. The Chargers are getting it done. After all this time, Sean, you want me to yell? You want me to get beat red? I'll do it.
I love it.
Herbert, the mighty H's, going to the AFC playoffs, making some noise. Let's go, Sean Brace. Let's get it done. The Khakis are ruling it all in the AFC.
That's what I'm talking about, Kyle Fisher. That's what I needed to hear. That's what I needed to hear right there. I want you to sell it to me. I know.
We got to do that once a week.
Yeah.
Once a week, we have Kyle Yell's segment. That's what we need.
and we'll call it "Sell Me This Pen." That's the name of the
Okay.
segment. All right.
I got it.
So you sell me on the Chargers. Why not? Right? Let's believe that there could be some potential new blood in the AFC coming out of there. I'm sure people are saying it about the Philadelphia Eagles on the NFC side. Of course, we're biased here. We don't want any of that. But as far as futures are concerned, right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, having a little bit of a problem pulling up what the hell my futures are here. But where the Chargers are listed, let's go with team wins for the Chargers. And the Chargers currently right now, should have known you were to go there. I had this ready. 9.5 is their win total at -110. And as far as to make the playoffs on the yes, now they made the playoffs last year. They're -140. Okay. So we got wins. We got that. Where the hell are the futures? Give me the futures. That's all I'm looking for. Here we are. All right. Super Bowl champions, Chargers 25-1. They're behind the Rams. They're behind the Bengals. They're behind the Packers, the 49ers, Commanders, Lions, Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, Eagles. Is that right where you have them?
Somewhere in that range, yeah. I mean, I have to look at everybody in a more total picture of everybody.
Sure.
But yeah, that sounds about right. You know, kind of like that second to third tier of teams. I'm not including any of the teams at the bottom. I'm talking legitimate, whatever the top 20 teams. They're in that second, maybe edge of the second, third tier of those top 20 teams with a legitimate shot to make the playoffs. So I'd put them somewhere in there, but I think that they have the potential to take that next step. And if they play in a weak division, and if Herbert can get anywhere close to only throwing 3 picks again like he did last year, I mean, how can you argue against it?
Justin Herbert, waving my flag here, my American flag for Justin Herbert. Get it done. All right, Kyle Fisher. Once again, Kyle Fisher 45 is where you can find him on socials. What are you working on right now, Kyle? What can people read you? What do you got working now?
So didn't get a chance to do it. So the same piece last week is what I'm going to be working on the next couple of days. I'm hoping to have it out by the weekend. Might wait until after the Mets series because there's been some reports that they might be looking at some of the same position players or relievers at the deadline. So I may see how that goes first to determine the desperation. But my guy Matt Watson at PSN just put out 3 players that the Phillies should target that people aren't necessarily talking about. I'm going to be working on one where, although a lot of GMs don't like to do this, 2-for-1 deals. What teams can they target that'll fit 2 holes as opposed to 1? So that'll be something that we can look at either over the weekend or early next week.
Philly Sports Network, once again, Kyle Fisher. Sell me this pen. You're the best, Kyle. Appreciate it. We'll catch up later this week. Enjoy the games, and always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
So, talk to you next week.
There he is. Great stuff from Kyle right there.